I now call on the Minister for Local Government, Housing and Community Development, the Honourable Pramila Kumar, to deliver her statement. You have the floor, ma'am.
Mr. Speaker, sir, Honourable Prime Minister, Honourable Ministers, Honourable Leader of the Opposition, Honourable Members of Parliament, fellow Fijians. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for the opportunity to present my ministerial statement on the review of the town and country planning laws by the Ministry of Local Government. Mr. Speaker, sir, town planning creates places where we live, work, shop, and play. Without town planning laws and proper master plans and town planning schemes, developments in the towns and cities will essentially lack direction and purpose. It must be recognized that town planners have a difficult task of dealing with various challenges, from unsustainable development and population growth to climate change. This is where urban planning becomes extremely crucial. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Abu Dhabi Declaration of February 2020 asserts that there can be no sustainable development without sustainable urbanization, and no sustainable urbanization without effective planning. Having the appropriate legal framework, financial backing, and human capacity are required for effective planning. Mr. Speaker, sir, I had informed this House previously that the Ministry of Local Government is reviewing the enabling legislation to ensure it is fit for purpose. Both the Town and Country Planning Act of 1946 and Subdivision Act of 1937 are no longer serving our interest. Unfortunately, our planning and development guidelines cannot support new thinking in planning backed by innovative designs and technologies. Mr. Speaker, sir, since 1946, there had been minor amendments made to these acts, particularly to the definitions and inclusion of new town planning areas under the town planning orders. These amendments were made till 1973. However, since then, there were no further amendments, and a revised edition of the Act bearing all amendments was published in 1978. Mr. Speaker, sir, we know a 70 or even 50-year-old piece of legislation is no longer relevant in the field of planning. What we want for Fiji are laws that will create sustainable and resilient cities and towns, laws that are forward-looking and adaptive to changing needs. Mr. Speaker, sir, the objective of the review is to create a planning law that will respond very well to modern-day planning principles and practices, including development controls. Fiji's Town Planning Act sets planning standards for land use and development through the town planning schemes and the town planning general provisions, which are now administered by the municipal councils. Mr. Speaker, sir, prior to the enactment of the Town Planning Act, the Subdivision of Lands Act was enacted to institute a system of creating and reconfiguring lots. This involves altering boundaries or amalgamating lots to create allotments on which development can then be planned and executed. These legislations were loosely based on the United Kingdom's Town and Country Planning Act at that time. Both legislations were introduced to ensure a well-organized planning system that controls land use and development within its unique and localized setting in Fiji. Mr. Speaker, sir, although the existing laws have the basic town planning and land development control provisions that are still applied today, it is worth noting that the provisions cover planning issues and land development control matters that are applicable to the types of development of the past decades. Mr. Speaker, sir, planning and development control from those past decades up till now have greatly evolved worldwide, with newer planning principles and techniques introduced to respond to the changes. Fiji in the past decades from 1970s till now has experienced big changes in development patterns and types due to increased urbanization and the need for a wider scope of development in peri-urban, rural, and maritime areas. Mr. Speaker, sir, these are large residential, industrial, commercial subdivisions and special use, for example, hotels, outside main urban areas. This justifies the need to formulate this new proposed act that aims to address the different planning methods and respond to the changing development patterns. Mr. Speaker, sir, inflexible provisions relating to rigid planning requirements and standards, increase in illegal developments, and lack of developer responsibilities. These were some of the gaps that were identified in the existing legislation. The current Act emphasizes the preparation of town planning schemes for municipalities. It does not explicitly cover the policy and planning aspect, which is a fundamental component of modern planning, to include macro-level planning at state and regional level, and also at the lower level planning, which are district plans and local area plans. Mr. Speaker, sir, the other important features of a modern day planning that the current Act lacks are provisions of development planning based on new technologies for maximum return by using the land optimally, provisions to improve and fast-track the planning process for major building applications, and clear provisions to apply and improve development enforcement. Furthermore, Mr. Speaker, sir, the provisions of the current town planning laws are too broad and do not adequately address some of the administrative issues that are encountered by the municipal councils. For example, the Act mentions rural local authorities and their functions. However, after the devolution of powers of the rural local authorities in 2018, all responsibilities in the extended rural areas now rest with the municipal councils. Mr. Speaker, sir, the revision now needs to reflect this to ensure that municipal councils have full authority and powers to control development in both the town boundaries and in the extended rural areas. Mr. Speaker, sir, following Cabinet approval, the Ministry carried out the review of the town planning laws between 2012 and 2018, and a draft was produced. We then took this draft for public consultations in the 3 divisions, followed by consultations with Itoke communities in 12 provinces. And this exercise was done in-house. Mr. Speaker, sir, in 2020, it was agreed that a fresh review be carried out in consultation with the Office of the Solicitor General. This took into account feedback from all the initial consultations. The Ministry of Local Government engaged the services of NetCam consultants to carry out the review of both acts. A thorough desktop research was undertaken to understand and benchmark international best planning principles and legislation applied in other jurisdictions. These principles have been incorporated in the draft bill to suit the local planning context in Fiji. Mr. Speaker, sir, the proposed bill is currently in its final draft after the completion of 5 stakeholder consultations convened in the 3 divisions with relevant government departments, utility and infrastructure agencies, municipal councils, professional bodies such as Institute of Architects, Engineers and Surveyors, the Chamber of Commerce, Rokotuis of the provinces, developers, and Tourism Association. Mr. Speaker, sir, the draft bill was also reviewed by the former directors of the Department of Town and Country Planning after stakeholder consultation. The draft bill addressed the shortfall identified by the stakeholders who were using the planning laws. Some of the new inclusions are clearly specifying administration of the proposed bill. This will strengthen the operations of the Department of Town and Country Planning and the municipal or district councils as local planning authorities to ensure services are more efficient and effective. Clear demarcation of 3 tiers of planning commencing from state, regional to local planning at district and municipal level. This will facilitate a well-coordinated, holistic national planning with the participation and contribution of key stakeholders and communities. Introduction of development control with policies to streamline and fasten the approval process with new mechanisms like pre-assessment of application, fast-tracking approval process by development assessment panel, review of the current regulations, and the use of online services. Strengthening enforcement to deter illegal development is also an important area that was identified by the stakeholders. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is proposed that the existing subdivision of Lands Act will be repealed and harmonized into principal legislation for uniformity and consistency in the policies that can be applied to both town planning and land subdivision matters. Mr. Speaker, sir, for the information of the House, the proposed bill will drive substantial changes and clarity in terms of strengthening and modernizing the Department of Town and Country Planning's approach to service delivery. For example, it will allow the department to better utilize the online platform to store, receive, and process applications electronically to reduce processing timelines. Some work in this area has already commenced, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, it should be noted that illegal developments are rife in some municipalities and even in extended rural boundaries. It is therefore the responsibility of municipal councils to ensure that developments are not located in areas or zones where it can create public health problems, disturbance, and nuisance to people in the surrounding areas due to the impact of its operation in a place where it is not permitted. Development for land subdivisions are not undertaken before development approval is granted. This will deter any negative impacts on the environment and people living around the development site. And buildings are not constructed before approval is granted, as it should comply with planning requirements. Building regulations for structural safety and public health requirements for the overall safety and well-being of the owner and surrounding neighbors. Mr. Speaker, sir, there are numerous cases where buildings are partly or fully constructed without prior approval of the municipal councils and the Department of Town and Country Planning. In other cases, buildings are not constructed as per the approved plans and are non-compliant. The Ministry will therefore strengthen the support to the municipal councils to ensure that their enforcement teams are fully resourced to curb illegal developments. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Ministry has noted in recent years that a high number of substandard building applications has been received by municipal councils. For example, Suva City Council received over 200 building applications in 2019 that were deemed substandard. The plans were not drawn to scale, there were issues of structural integrity, and detailed designs were merely copy and paste. Unfortunately, the existing town planning legislation does not provide any form of guidance as to who can lodge building applications. Mr. Speaker, sir, to curb such issues and to protect the interest of the developers and the public, the draft bill now makes reference to applications being lodged by accredited persons. This means that only those professionals who are qualified and have the necessary experience and rather carry professional indemnity cover will be permitted to lodge building applications with municipal councils. Mr. Speaker, sir, my ministry had also engaged the services of an experienced planning consultant specializing in planning law from Melbourne, Australia, who carried out an independent peer review of the draft bill. The relevant comments and suggestions were taken on board by the local consultant and included in the final draft. Mr. Speaker, sir, the final draft of the revised Town Planning Act has been submitted to the Office of the Solicitor General for legal vetting. The Ministry will be inviting written comments from the public on the draft bill through the Ministry's website and Facebook platform. And finally, Mr. Speaker, sir, you have heard during the national budget, Attorney General had made the announcement that the town planning provisions have been changed. And the provisions were changed to ensure that there is no delay in approval process. Currently, when it comes to setback and the plot ratio, in other words, how much of land can be used for development, such applications end up at Town and Country Planning Office. So to remove all these impediments, the general provisions have been changed to allow quick decisions that can be made at the municipal council level and for better utilization of the land and to remove frustration which is normally faced by the developers. What we really want is any development should be able to give fair return to the developers. So the land should be utilized to its maximum, and that can be done now with new technologies that we have and new designs, innovative designs that can be used. So, that is one major change that we have made to the town and country planning regulations. There are more changes that we are planning to introduce. But Mr. Speaker, sir, I look forward to the new laws once it gets passed that will remove a number of issues that is faced by the developers and investors. As I have said, the legislation itself is so outdated that sometimes the regulators or the officials from municipal councils and town and country planning, they only look at the laws and normally they don't want to be creative and they just stick to that, and that causes delays unless and until the planners, they change the design of the building or the setbacks, etc. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, thank you for allowing me to brief the House on the progress of the town planning laws. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
I thank the Honourable Minister for her statement.